What's up, guys? We are back with another live Q&A, live interview with D-Max Rhino, which is, you can see him here, obviously. And so he's our Diamond C ambassador from Southern California. Man, I'm jealous because right now here in Texas, it is some kind of nasty and cold. And I can just imagine what it's like in Southern California right now.
Pretty much looks like my background right there. It's
Ah,
pretty beautiful out here.
come on now. Be teasing me. Cool. We'll jump right into it, man. We've what has it been? About 8 months since we teamed up, something like that.
Yes,
Something
sir.
like that. So if you can just tell the viewers a little more, about yourself, what you do, kind of your story, a little bit of your story.
Okay. So my name's Ryan. I go by DMax Rhino on pretty much all social media platforms. Just a blue collar kid, born and raised in a blue collar family, and kind of took off with my own construction company when I was in my early 20s. I also have been doing media, marketing, and a lot of YouTube stuff when I was younger. I've always loved having a camera in my hand. I was always the kid that when we go out to the desert with my buddies, I was always the one that had a camera and would put together a video at the end of the trips. And that kind of my love of filming and documenting things kind of turned into me doing YouTube almost full time alongside with the construction stuff.
Mm.
And one of my goals has always been to show a different side of blue collar. You know, growing up, blue collar wasn't put on a pedestal like I think it should
Mm.
be. And I was always made an example of in class when people were asking or teachers were asking what college you were going to. I'd always say I want to start my own construction company. And I was basically made the example of if you want to be successful, go to college. If you don't, go do what Ryan wants to do.
I got you.
And kind of use that as my inspiration to just, put my head down and grind it out and prove those teachers wrong. And use YouTube to be able to tell that story to hopefully inspire the next generation of kids that college might not be right for them, school might not be right for them, but I wanted to show that you can be successful without college. And thankfully, I have the YouTube platform and all the social media to kind of chronicle that story.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Back in those early days, what did you start out doing when to make money, hustling the construction? What were you doing?
So right out of high school, actually, while I was in high school, I was working in concrete and masonry. So I used to have to lie to my school because you could get out early your senior year if you had college classes. So I faked that I had college classes to be able to go to work earlier and kind of sneak out of school and get it, actually have a job, which is pretty sad that you have to fake going to school to have a
To go
job.
make money.
But
Yeah.
that that's it. That's it. So I did about 7 years, give or take, full time in concrete and masonry before I went and got my general contractor's license and went out on my own.
Ah, that's awesome. And then when you got that license, you started out doing what?
Kind of ran the gamut. I mean, we were doing restaurants, we were doing a lot of mix. So commercial would come in waves. We do a lot of commercial jobs, and then it would switch back to
Cool.
residential. Got in with a few interior designers and was doing a lot of that type of work. The reason I went and got my general contractor's license was because it kind of opened the door. Instead of just doing the same thing repetitively, which is what I was doing in
Mm.
concrete, I got to pick and choose and just, every day was something different, which is what I really liked about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really cool. So fast forward to the last few years, and you've been wildly successful, which has been cool to watch. But you found yourself, I guess you had bought the original LPT, and you started doing some work with it, and then we that's when we came in the picture. But when you found that one, what initially drew you to the product or to that trailer to begin with?
So, at least in my opinion, Diamond C was always known as like the gold standard of trailers. So I've never owned a dump trailer, but I've owned a few other models of trailers over the years. And it's one of those things that like every trailer that I've owned, I've had either issues with or build quality that wasn't great. And you just kind of sucked it up because it was what it was.
Mhm.
You already own the trailer. So when it came time to looking for a dump trailer, like I said, over the years, I'd always heard Diamond C is just the best. And so I happened to be in southern Utah leaving a truck show. And out here, there weren't too many Diamond C dealers. And I saw every day driving to and from the truck show, this beautiful Diamond C's just sitting on the lot at this dealership. And I said, you know what, let's just swing by there on our way out. Let me just take a look and see what these trailers are all about. And as soon as I saw Diamond C in person and I looked at the build quality and we checked the thing out, I was like, this is this is the trailer that I feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of and it's going to last. And so we bought it on the spot and towed it all the way back to Southern California with us on our way back from our trip, and just fell in love with
Mm,
it. I mean, if anybody wants to look on my YouTube channel, you can see like we go in depth on looking at the build quality on what separates a Diamond C from other trailers that I've owned and that other people have owned. And there's a lot of little details. It's kind of hard to go into all of
mm.
them, but there's a lot of little details that separate that. And I'm sold. I mean, I'm a lifer now with Diamond C.
That's
So
cool.
just from owning one and seeing, the build quality.
Yeah. Uh, if you were, somebody that kind of following in your shoes, right? They're hustling. They're ready to buy their first dump trailer. Just in the last few years of owning one, last couple of years, what are a few things that you would say, hey, you got to look at these aside of Diamond C or whatever. This is what you need to pay attention to.
Well, so for one, I mean, dump trailers, they're not like standard trailers. We're loading them. If you're like me, you're overloading them a lot. And and they're constantly moving. You're dumping this trailer multiple times a day, whereas, a static equipment trailer or whatever, you can get away with lesser quality and you're probably never going to notice or break it unless you're doing something crazy with it. But when it comes to a dump trailer, uh, they're probably the trailer you put through the most stress. So, I mean, you can look at the welds, you can look at, having the telescopic dump, which I think is huge for me because I know all of my friends in the past that bought dump trailers before people started putting telescopic rams on them. They've all spent time at the dump having to hand unload because they loaded too front heavy or they
Mm.
loaded the entire trailer too heavy. So to me, that's a huge thing. But one of the things I like about the Diamond C's is you don't have to go full blown on upgrades. Obviously, the trailer in my background here, we went crazy on the upgrades. But if you just get the base model off the line, which is what I owned, they're super super solid trailers. I mean, you really can't go wrong with
Yeah.
them.
I got you. So on the daily, like who's using your current trailer the most? Like it's between you and a couple other guys, or what? How does that work?
No, that trailer doesn't leave my possession. That one's my prized jewel of trailers. That one, I'm the only one that uses that trailer. I'm super anal about scratches, and I know it's a dump trailer, but
Hey, the outside, like the inside's going to get scuffed, but at least keeping the outside looking
right.
good, yeah, is a big deal.
Even the inside, we still load things
Yeah.
gingerly. I'm not the guy dumping from 20 feet up, dumping broken concrete into the box of the
Mm.
trailer. But yeah, I'm the one that primarily uses it. I just had it at Home Depot the other day loading lumber, and I made sure I found the good forklift operator that could swing it in and not hit the sides of my trailer
Yeah,
to load this thing up. But yeah, I don't let anybody take this trailer but me. This one's my
I
baby.
got you. So if you could give us the I guess the top three kind of favorite things, three or so, and then we'll move into some feedback, man. I mean, that's one way that we, for years or forever, honestly, that we get any better. And I mean, that's how anybody gets any better, is to understand, where you could improve, that kind of thing. So if you could shoot us a few that you're like, man, these are the things that I, couldn't live without on this trailer. But then also, if there was a couple of things I would improve, this is what it'd be.
Okay, yeah. So one of the huge improvements and one that I was super excited for is the latches on the rear gate.
Mm,
To not have to sit there and chain up your gates anymore, to not have them have that slop in the chain and you don't know where, you're always fighting that. Those latches were a game
mm,
changer. And upgrade wise, having the hydraulic tongue jack is probably my hands down favorite upgrade we did on this trailer. I don't think I will ever own another trailer if I can help it without a hydraulic tongue jack. These trailers get heavy, and a lot of my trucks are lifted, and sometimes the ball is at a little bit of a weird angle. So trying to get them to disconnect can be a little bit of a pain. And even with my last LPT, one of my trucks, the hitch is at a pretty odd angle. And I spent one day like going up and down, probably 3 or 4 times trying to get it to detach, and I was spent. So having that hydraulic tongue jack is killer. Um, and just honestly, the way the wiring is ran, if you look at everything's run through conduit, it's not just exposed, it's not just you know zip tied to the side of the frame or anything like that. Probably one of my favorite things is just that you guys took the attention to detail to even weld on clips to hold the wires in place. It's just something I haven't seen on too many trailers, so it's something I really do appreciate.
I got you. So when you were, did you look at some other brands prior? Some other brands of dump trailers?
I've seen a lot of my buddies have other brands of dump
Yeah,
trailers, so I have experience with other brands. I didn't seriously look at purchasing another
yeah.
brand. Again, just because I knew Diamond C was what I had dreamed of
Mhm.
owning, and I had the budget for it, so that's what I went to go look at. But I've in passing over the years, being on job sites, people are coming and going with dump trailers all the time,
Yeah,
and I haven't seen any personally, in my opinion,
I got you.
that can come close to the build quality of the Diamond C's.
I got you. Cool. Well, something that I wanted to touch on and ask, a little bit I had mentioned a while ago about somebody looking to buy a dump trailer advice, but somebody, I guess getting back into going in reverse a little bit, but folks, young grind, guys out there that wanting to basically follow in your footsteps, man. Like, give us a few key points. What would you say to those young guys or girls, even wanting to get started and trying to find their footing? Right. What advice would you give them?
I mean, quality work is number one. Whether you're working for somebody or you're working for yourself, you got to be able to have that quality of work and care. You have to be willing to care. A lot of people these days, they work 9 to 5, they don't care. While I've every job I've ever worked where I worked under somebody or I worked for a company, I was always watching what a guy a level above me was doing, or what the owner was doing, or what the superintendents were doing, and because that was my goal, right, is to move up the ladder.
Mhm.
So one thing I always did was, if you see the owner on his phone, stressing about something, like what is he stressing about, and how can that change, or what is, like what does his day to day look like, to kind of prepare yourself. A lot of people think it's really expensive to go out on your own, and it can be or it can't be, right? I mean, for $500 to $1,000 in tools, you can start doing construction.
Mhm.
Start doing side jobs while you're working for another company until you have enough money to buy something better. And I know, like dump trailer wise, you can get a really cheap trailer to get you started. You can get cheap equipment to get you started. It just depends on what you want to do.
Right.
But a lot of people think the money is the hang up, and it's really not. If you have the skill set, you're going to be busy.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, but you just have to be excited to go to work.
Mhm.
Which, this generation, it's hit or miss.
Yeah, it's
Some
kind of
people
hard.
have it, some people don't.
Yeah, it sounds like it's, man. A lot of it is just the drive. Just start. Like it's uh, be a little bit creative potentially. Like I mean, you
Exactly.
turn a dollar into $5, $5 into $10, and but the fact of it is getting some momentum, getting started, and like you said, being cognizant of what others around you that are successful, and surrounding yourself with people to learn from is huge. I mean, you
Exactly.
have this desire, this entrepreneurial desire, but you continue to hang around the folks that aren't, I mean, they're not getting you anywhere. Then and it's not using people necessarily, but it's just learning from watching, like you were saying. So that's really cool. What's can you think of, and this is extremely out of left field, but can you think of some like a time like back when you were starting that you may have made a mistake, but you learned from it and were able to just kind of forge on, and it was really valuable?
That's a good question. I mean, I've definitely, one of the things you learn, like I said earlier, I used to work with a lot of interior designers, and if anybody's worked with interior
Super
designers, it can be
finicky.
crazy.
Yeah, finicky.
Yeah, so like, you would bid jobs a certain way, and then they would change the tile, and then they would get mad at you because the price went up, even though every type of tile is different to install. So a lot of little mistakes like that in the beginning, to where I would just eat the cost on a lot of things because I didn't want to lose the work, and to me, my customer being happy is more important than, you know I'd rather give up 500 extra dollars, or give up, 5 grand extra. But I realized I can't do that. Like, you need to kind of stick to your guns. Yes, make sure your customer's happy at the end of the day. But at the same time, I was almost getting a little bit walked over,
Mm,
and all these changes that were coming up. And I hate asking for money. To this day, I still hate asking for money. Even after I've completed a job, you're extremely happy, I'm still like hesitant to send a text message to be like, "Hey, all right, final payments due.
mm,
Can I come pick up that check?" Like, I still hate that to this day. But it was even worse when it was a change order or something. Whereas all these other guys that I see in the business, they're like quickly just firing off change orders,
mm.
firing off. Nope, it's going to be an extra 10 grand if you want that. And I was always just like too timid about that. And it's something I've learned from, and you can't be timid about that type of stuff. You're providing a service, they're changing it and asking for more, and you need to be confident in billing for more.
Yep. Dude, that's cool. I mean, that's like a 2-for-1 type thing, right? You're learning from the little mistakes, but at the same time, it's kind of building your experience and your confidence at the same time, and that's really cool. So I was gonna switch gears a little bit again, kind of along the same lines of getting started in construction, but somebody who is interested in doing some, create like difference making documentation, kind of like you're talking about with social media, whatnot. If they're obviously that in a different, it could be totally different industry, whatever. But do you have any pointers for somebody wanting to get started in social documentation like that?
Yeah, so consistency is huge. And really going at it for the right reasons, right? I never started making YouTube videos thinking I was ever going to make YouTube money.
Mm,
Um, but it was more the love of making videos and the love of documenting things. That's what gave me the drive to continue. And then, yes, eventually, it paid off and we made some money. But it's just one of those things that a lot of people aren't consistent. They fall off because they haven't made any money, or
mm,
they fall off because there's not that big of an audience. And it takes years. I've been on YouTube for almost, let's see, 2006. So, almost 15 years or so. I
mm.
don't know, my math is horrible, but it took a long time before, I saw a penny that made it worth it or whatever it may be. I just stayed consistent and kept putting in the work.
Yeah.
And it's something that a lot of people fall off before they ever get the reward of whether it's an audience or whether it's money or whatever you're chasing. It's just consistency. You got to stay consistent.
Yeah, it's starting with passion versus it being a job or a income stream. So a lot of folks think that you
Exactly.
just got lucky one day and we're like, oh, I'm going to post this video, and then all of a sudden money started flowing. It's like, nah, not exactly. You missed the other years of of slavery to the camera. Well, that pretty well. I know right there at the end you plugged us in, but that pretty well sums us up, man. I appreciate the perspective and just being able to kind of follow your journey. Um, any other last thoughts you have there of just about whether it's about the partnership that we've had or anything upcoming that you'd like? I mean, like folks to know about.
Well, so in terms of the partnership with Diamond C, having that connection, it's one of the things, I work with a few companies over the years, and I always like to have a go-to connection. So being able to text you guys, I haven't had any issues, but if there was an issue, I know I have a number I can call or text immediately and get things handled. There's that real small company feel,
Hmm.
which is what I do appreciate when it comes to working with you guys. It's not it doesn't feel like big corporate. There's a marketing guy that you never talk to anybody higher up or anything like that.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the fact that it does have that small town feel and that small company feel, and I'm not just a number that and you guys thought was a decent marketing tool.
Yeah.
I do feel valued and appreciated, so I do appreciate that. In terms of anything coming up, we've got a large ranch in Southern California, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but we're constantly evolving this place, constantly building new things, and always bringing new toys and new tools and all kinds of stuff. So if anybody wants to follow along, it's DMAX Rhino on YouTube and all my other social medias.
Very
So
cool.
come
One
join the
thing
journey, I guess.
I should have mentioned. So you bought the trailer. I mean, you bought your first one. You mentioned it at what you said at a dealership in Southern California, but Complete Trailers, you bought it there as well. Where did you buy the first one?
No, so the first one came from Southern
Southern
Utah.
Utah, and then this one came from
Yeah,
Complete, which is right there, Oceanside, fairly close to you. Yeah. Yeah.
correct. Yeah, I didn't know they were there at the time.
Okay.
So
No, that's cool. What?
yeah,
How was that?
yeah.
Like, I one thing that's I like people to be understand. Like, you didn't like we didn't just ship it to your door. I mean, you went through the dealer experience. Like, you showed up, which there's a video documenting your pickup there. But your experience there with Complete and through them being your local Diamond C dealer.
Yeah, no, the experience was great. And they're also they own many dealerships across the country, so that you can kind of get the same experience.
Mm,
But again, the owner came out that day, and the process was as smooth as can go. I know it's a little funky the way we had to do
Mm,
things in terms of kind of trading in the other trailer. It's not like I was just showing up and purchasing a trailer and leaving, but they handled everything really well. Like we had missed signing one document,
mm,
and they were willing to send somebody to come to me to make that signature instead of me having to go back to them, which I do appreciate because we're always super busy. So yeah, no, the process was super smooth. I think they were just as excited as I was to see the new generation LPT,
mm.
and so having a dealership that's willing to let me come film and kind of help me out and putting the trailer side by side so we can do some video, and it's a lot of extra work for them. So I appreciated that, and it was super smooth process. And again, the owner gave me a cell phone number if there's ever any issues or anything that we need. It's the relationships I like to have.
Awesome. Well, man, I appreciate it again. Everyone, like he said, D-Max Rhino on pretty much all the social platforms. You can find him there. Always is coming up with new, crazy, cool ideas, things like I'm the guy, like I always wish that I was as, I guess, creative, maybe that's the word, but I never have the camera when I wish I had the camera. And it's like you always have the camera at the right time, and so the content's really good. But yeah, make sure to go follow DMAX Rhino, and we'll catch you on the next one.
I appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir.
Thanks, guys.